Ladies and gentlemen, the news of the day is that Mahmoud Khalil was deported by ICE and Donald J. Trump. He wrote on True Social, Shalom Mahmoud, and basically, wrote about how he's a terrorist sympathizer. Mahmoud is, a pro-Hamas protester who was deported because, he basically supports terrorism. Now, Scott Jennings went on CNN and educated them on this matter, and they got pretty triggered. Check it out.
He's a resident alien. He can be deported under U.S. law for if the Secretary of State has any reasonable ground to believe he would have a potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequence. And you mentioned the student organization. The student organization put out. Let me finish.
But before you move on, because I think that's a really important point, right? That's the statute that they're using.
Yeah.
Have you seen evidence to suggest that there is actually a serious reason to believe that this student is going to be a threat to national security?
I've certainly watched the abomination that's gone on at Columbia and Barnard and other places, and I will just tell you,
threat to national security.
And I'll just tell you that
I'm not going to let you move on because this is the
I'll tell you why it's a threat to national security if you let me answer you.
Well, Scott,
do you want me to answer you or not?
Okay.
His organization says we are dedicated fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization.
Okay.
He's not a citizen. He doesn't need to be here.
I don't want to. You just described him having viewpoints that you disagree with. Again, is that enough to have someone lose their rights in this country?
He has viewpoints that, in my opinion, jeopardize the security of the United States.
But how?
He is obviously a radical who is here to foment.
No, he's not a radical at all.
Violence against the United States government.
He wants to destroy Western civilization.
Against the United States government.
You're saying eradicate Western civilization doesn't make you a radical?
Has he acted in any way that is violence against the United States government, as you just said?
I think these protests and the violence they have fomented and the intimidation and fear against the Jewish kids on these campuses is absolutely an act of insurrection against the United States.
I don't think any American speech, Scott. That's enough.
Look, what they engaged in is a clear threat to the United States. And if you want the United States to be overrun by radicals the way Europe has, be my guest. But I think the president needs to stand up for the integrity of the United States.
What is the threat?
The threat of our country being and our college campuses being overrun by radicals who are trying to run Jewish kids off of campuses and anybody else who
First of all,
they wouldn't even let them go to class.
First of all, they were
Columbia is an abomination.
First of all, there were violent counter protests at UCLA that were done by Jewish organizations.
No, both sides. Anti-Semitism is a scourge on this country. Do not.
It absolutely
is that it is not clear that this particular student has engaged in the specific actions that he was talking about, and you've shown me no evidence of that either.
Okay, well, guess what? He is not a citizen. If he were a citizen, I might feel differently. He's a guest in this country.
Okay.
It's my view,
in other
and
words,
it's the Trump administration.
But it doesn't matter.
No, I didn't walk in here with my gumshoe investigative case, Abby. But here's what I do think: this guy's running an organization at Columbia that has ruined 2 solid years of people's lives.
Based on allegations that you have not substantiated.
I think he should be deported based on what the Trump administration has already identified. He is a threat to the national security.
But based on his affiliation.
The statute you quoted, it's an obscure statute, old statute that's being used, is about being against U.S. foreign policy, right? So, for example, when I was part of protests in Miami, when the Clinton administration and Janet Reno returned Elian Gonzalez to Cuba, is that
were you trying to eradicate Western civilization?
No, I was trying to stop the U.S. government, and I was protesting against what the U.S. government had done.
Were you occupying buildings?
I was protesting.
Were you fomenting violence?
I was doing what that.
Were you inciting others to engage in violence?
I was doing what that statute
Were you chasing
said. I was
people
against
around?
U.S. foreign policy.
Were you intimidating people?
Okay,
we were shutting down streets.
My view is that we're in a fight for the future of Western civilization. This guy's on the wrong side of it, and he don't need to be here.
And if the court.
He's a red.
It's that simple. And in case you're like wondering who is this guy, did he really say something terrible? Does he really deserve to be deported? Here's a clip of him, inciting violence. All right, I think we've heard enough. Destroy the head of the Zionists. That is not criticizing U.S. foreign policy. That is, directly inciting violence against a group of people who hold a certain belief. And Mike Johnson, not Mike Johnson, was asked a similar question. What did he commit? What did he do? And hear his response.
In your estimation, what crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his income?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff, when the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own observation, not something I read in the newspaper. It was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were holed away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for fear of their physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed, and now they got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The of the students who are paying tuition to be there, for crying out loud. This madness has to stop. We have to get control of it. This guy apparently was a mastermind of those very things, when the gnashing of teeth and the ripping of clothes and the people screaming at me, wanting to rip me limb from limb because I was there talking about moral clarity and how there's a right and a wrong. They were doing that. This clearly, if you are on a visa and you're in America and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates, you're going home. We're going to arrest your tail, and we're going to send you home where you belong. And this is just getting started. So, look, I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that. When you are threatening your classmates and spewing anti-Semitism and all this hatred, it's enough. And I think the American people understand that. They're supporting it, and I'm glad we have a president who's strong enough to lay down the law. Thanks a lot.
New sheriff in town.
A new sheriff is in town, and that was clear and moral clarity there from Mike Johnson. Just so you get a picture of what this guy looks like, this is him, a picture from basically the White House Twitter, where they basically write something pretty funny, actually. Shalom Mahmoud. The White House. Yep. We will find and apprehend and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. That's Donald J. Trump's statement. For more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. I think that we can all agree that this person was not a friend of the United States. He wants to destroy Western civilization in his own words, and he directly incited violence against Zionists as well as Jewish students. Thank you, and have a good one.